The group build for the 2027 Nationals will in fact be B-24s. Any scale, any version, we will even accept the Navy versions. Any B-24 or B-24 variant for Huntsville next year is going to be the group build. Um, yeah, so it is in cooperation with Hobby Boss, and the box art, as you see it there on the left, does depict a censored version of it. We wanted to do that just because, this box art may be on display in your model room. It might be on display. It's going to be on display in our Squadron store. So that's what we decided to do for
Yeah.
the box art. The decal actually includes that cover up top as an optional part. You can use it or you don't have to. The Hobby Boss kit in 48 scale is, like I said, the base of the kit. But what you are going to see from Keith here in just a moment is what is possible when you use the kit and all the aftermarket goodies that are available, which we are very heavily stocked up on and will have at Nationals with us as well. So, Keith, I'm going to flip through this a little bit. I'm going to let you take over and kind of walk us through. Keith did this in 2 months. Literally, he started on May 15th and he finished it like 1:30 in the morning last night, I think, if I understand correctly, including the photographs and everything. So walk us through getting this done, Keith, and what all this took.
Yeah, so on this page you can see a lot of the aftermarket stuff I had to choose from. And similar, like how we were talking about earlier with building like the aircraft for a ship, I sort of do that whenever I build anything. I always find what's going to be the most miserable or like time consuming thing and do it first, sort of like out of order. So a lot of these aftermarket products, that's the way I approach a lot of these builds. So I do like the engines, the superchargers, the wheels, anything that I know is going to be coming in later. I do those ahead of time, just because I always find like if I get a whole airplane built, then I have to do the wheels. I'm just not having a good time. Like that's just not a fun step for me. So as you see, like the layout of my work in progress that I've put together for you all, I have a lot of things in the order that you'd approach it while doing the build, but you can put it together any way you want in any order, just whatever flows the best for your process.
Yeah,
Here's the entire interior shot here.
it's just crazy. Yeah, this is what we were talking about earlier. Whichever one of you guys was talking about. Oh, it was the main kit, the 12 scale, the MP4. Talking about doing an interior and then closing it up later and not seeing it. I'm glad you got these pictures because a lot of this stuff is very difficult to see now, isn't it, Keith?
Yeah, you can sort of see like the navigator area, the bombardier area through like the front window a tiny bit. Same with like the cockpit, the radio compartment. You can take the top turret out and look down into it, but yeah, I mean you're looking at these things through a magnifying glass if you really want to see inside.
Hmm.
Um,
Now, this is the dull dark green. That is our new color. And the reason that we had to come up with this color is, well, first of all, because we didn't have it. And when this project started, we knew we wanted to get it right. And there's going to be a lot of conversation about the interior colors. But we went to the man that we trust more than anybody, Dana Bell, and said, Dana, this is what we got. This is what we want to do. Tell us what to do. And Dana's, we'll have write-ups on all this stuff down the road from Dana. But he basically said this is what it was. So we knew that we had to come up with dull dark green as a new color in our paint line.
And with the dark dull green, it gives you a lot more opportunity to like do the weathering that you see like in these Pacific bombers. Interior green didn't really weather the same way as like the dark dull green. So with a lot of my weathering on the interior, I do like a lot of like the white oil rendering to give it that faded look. And if you do decide to build this kit and start looking at reference photos, you'll see a lot of this faded look of the dark dull green, which is to me, it was really fun to mimic that look. A lot of that brown you see there in the interior is a lot of the Squadron pigments. After you do your flat coat varnish, the pigments absorb into the layer pretty evenly like that. And then you could take like your finger and rub it down and pull some back off, which gives you a really smooth transition.
Yeah, Keith asked me when he started building. He says, "Hey, do you want me to use all of the Squadron branded tools and paints and glues and everything?" I said, "Absolutely."
The Bombay here, a lot of that is actually Edwards PE set. The bulkheads were pretty sparse. I mean, it's not really going to be seen, but if you just wanted to have like that complete, this is definitely the Bombay. Here's all the parts that go along with it. A lot of that is from the Edward aftermarket set.
Hmm.
Res Kit's bombs. The reason I use those versus the kit bomb, just I was sort of in a time crunch, and they do have a little bit more of a crisp look than the kit supplied bombs, but the kit supplied bombs work just as fine.
Yeah, I'd say you were in a time crunch. Sorry about that.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite areas that I did a little bit of customization with. All those brass shells are actually lead wire. I painted the lead wire with Tamiya's metallic gold flake, and once it like had dried, I just measured the size of the shells in the kit from one of the turrets, and I just cut them to that length, and I used some Elmer's glue to hold them down into their spot. And I did it where I thought physics would throw those shells while the aircraft was flying.
Hmm. I love it.
The yellow, for anybody that didn't know, I point out here on this page, but the yellow I did with a pink primer first, and then hit the yellow on top of that, and that gives you that really nice warm yellow that these tanks generally look to have been in reference photos.
Yeah, and this is another one of those controversial. Is this how the interior was painted? And we're going to have again a write up from Dana very soon explaining why the interior back here looks this way.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, generally the interior would have been like interior green with the metal stringers going up and down vertically.
Right.
Where Dana had stated that the actual metal was the bulk of it when the stringers were the interior green. So that's what I
Yep.
replicated here.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, basically, the stringers have to be different than the skins for it to work right. And Dana basically said it was a weight thing. Why paint? Why not paint the stringers? Because that's less paint to have to use.
Here's the turrets, and if any of y'all have looked into this kit, this is definitely going to be like the snagging point for most people. Hobby Boss, for whatever reason, chose to mold the clear parts of the turret in separate sections. Um, I sanded it and used plastic weld to bind it together and polished it, the best I could, but you can still see some slight visible seam work there. Unfortunately, there's also a few spots where they have locator pins where there's no mounting sanding on that you could possibly do to get rid of the locator pins. I know aftermarket versions exist if that's what you wanted to pursue.
I love how he says this is not up to his standards. If I could build something and it looked like this, I'd be like smiling from here to here.
Yeah.
You did a fantastic job with it, Keith.
Thank you. The wheels and the gear. Customize the gear a little bit, the brake lines, which you can see in reference photos, and that's Edwards wheels, which are very nice. They're really crisp, easy to work with. Edwards engine set, which this is the first time I've done their rotary engine where all the ignition wires and everything were printed in. Which, man, that was easy. All you do is cut off of its supports and just paint. There's not any wiring that you have to do. So that was, a game changer there. The props I gave a faded look, a faded brown look. similar to what you see like in Pacific used aircraft, which this is what this would have been used in.
I'm going to answer a couple questions. There's a lot of people in the chat asking, if you're not going to nationals, are you going to be able to buy these? And the answer is yes. So after doing this the first time last year with the P-47 and the B-26, we know more than we did last year, and we have planned accordingly. And here's the plan. As soon as this show ends tonight, you will see this item on the website. You can go and you can put your email in the waiting list. If you are a member of our Squadron Eagle Club, you can send me an email tonight and you can order one tonight. And it will ship Monday before Nationals. So theoretically, you will have it when Nationals starts, just like anybody at the show. That's one of the perks of being in our Eagle Club. We're going to try to start doing things like that. So Eagle Club members, if you want one, shoot me an email tonight. We'll put an order in, and you'll have it approximately the same time that Nationals goers will. Everybody that's going to Nationals, you'll be able to buy this on Wednesday as soon as the show opens. If you're not at Nationals, you will be able to place an order online sometime Wednesday or possibly Thursday, as soon as we get an idea and a feel for what the initial rush at Nationals is. So our intention is to make it to where everybody can have one, but our Eagle Club members go first, Nationals goers get second shot, and then everybody else gets third shot shortly after Nationals starts. And just so you know, the price of it's going to be $99.99 is the selling price. And we are sending some of these over to MMD, to Russ. So dealers, you'll be able to get them in your stores as well. All right, back to you, Keith.
Superchargers. I just did like a black base coat with a burnt iron oxide. Here on the right, you can see where I've added the nose weight. I tried to find like on Brit Modeler and all like the common forums, like how much weight was needed. I saw one person they put like 140 grams, which this right here, what I put is around 100, and I couldn't imagine putting any more because it weighed, I don't know, by the end of the build, that thing weighed like 4 or 5 pounds. So, and it holds itself down, especially once you get the wheels glued on with this much weight, 100 grams. I did cause myself an issue here though, which I go on to explain in the next section. Whenever I put all those BBs in there, it slightly expanded my fuselage wall there. So by the time I got it together, I had like a 1 millimeter gap under that spot that I had to fill. Which before I did the BBs, I did the dry fitting and everything looked great. So I was quite surprised that I did that to myself, which you can see here on the right, that large gap.
So here's a little trick that I will pass on after years of doing this. You get really large ball bearings like these guys, and they fit. You drop them in and they fit, and you glue them in. And then you get smaller ball bearings or smaller BBs or lead shot from your shooting supply store, because lead always weighs more than steel, and you pour those in and around the outside, and it fills in all of the gaps so that you can maximize your without pushing the sides. Because I did the same exact thing, except I did it on a different airplane.
Yeah, it can be quite devastating. But there's actually some type of glue that a company makes that's like a nose weight glue that's got metal flakes or something in it. I've seen.
I think it's called liquid gravity.
Yeah,
I've got
there
some,
you go.
and it runs out through all the little holes if you don't seal them up.
Yeah. Now we need that too.
Just the seam work, and I give a lot of like the basic information about the processes, what to do, when to do it, verifying your work. Here with the primer verification to make sure that your seam's actually gone. It's important to do that and really to let it wait. I didn't have time to let it wait, but if you let something like this wait for a week, sometimes the putty will shrink over time. Giving it time to shrink and then verify is a little bit better, but I added a pretty thick coat of primer to get her sealed up.
Yeah, you guys are just going to have to come back and read through this, because he gets very, very detailed on exactly what he did, when he did it, how he did it. The only unfortunate thing, it's not an unfortunate thing, but we were trying to get our metal paints finished up in time for Keith to be able to use those on this. And we finished them up like days after he finished painting this. So the Tamiya, we've talked about this recently, the new LP series of paints. It's Tamiya's full lacquer paints. That's what you used on this, and I think it turned out fabulous. We will actually have a very nice supply of the specific LP paints that Keith used on this. We'll have them at our booth at Nationals. So if you wanted to buy the exact paints that Keith used on this, we'll be able to hook you up at the show with that.
And if you're coming to the Nationals, Keith will be sitting with me throughout the course of the week. This model will be there for you to look at in person.
Yep.
And he will be joining me doing demos and product demonstrations and whatnot.
Yeah. Anti-glare, just how I matched it. The part that's probably going to be most interesting for a lot of people is the next section here, applying the nose art. The decal is rather large, and I go pretty in depth on how I did it. So I would, if you do plan on doing this kit, definitely read through that and make sure you have a good understanding if you've never done a decal this large before, and just take your time with something like this.
Yep. Yeah, that particular thing was what took us so long to actually get this kit done to market. Just you can design something on a flat 2D surface on your computer screen and it looks great, but then when you're trying to do what Keith had to do here, we just had to modify it time and time again, but it finally worked out.
Not to mention the research that we did. One of the things that we actually learned about this aircraft is that when the bomb bay doors are closed, the tail lines up. When the bomb bay doors are open, there's a second set of artwork so that when the bomb bay doors are open, it lines up. So the artwork remains continuous whether the bomb bay doors are open or closed.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know that until we started looking around and looking at the artwork and the photos of the actual aircraft.
Well, all of the, or at least all the photos that we have of the original aircraft, the bomb bay doors, they're all open. You never see a picture of them closed. Well, Dana, again, of course, gave us some pictures I had never seen. And if you look, you can actually see the cracks behind the bomb bay door. And you've heard it before. Yeah, that it had it on both. Well, then we actually saw photographic evidence and like, yep, that's how it's done.
Yes, this model will be at Chattanooga.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, after Nationals, this model is coming to the Squadron Museum, and it'll be on permanent display there until it'll go to Eagle Quest, and then it'll go to Huntsville next year for the B-24 group build as well. It's just,
well, Keith, you're already being called the GOAT, so you're up there with Tom Brady and Wayne Gretzky.
Well, you know, the thing is, and Keith, we'll quit patting you on the back here in a second, but I got to say this, and I've always said there's guys that build really good models. There's guys that take really good pictures of their models. There's guys that build models really, really fast. There's not that many guys that do all three of those things. It's just fantastic. And on top of that, you did a full build article on how to do this. So we appreciate what you did here. It's really, really nice, and glad everybody's getting to see it now.
Yeah, for sure. My pleasure.
I'm kind of looking forward to what the next big project we're going to throw at you is.
Well, here's the cool thing, and you'll see it when I flip the next page. If building the bomber wasn't good enough, he said, let me just put it in a diorama. So one of the pictures that I had never seen until we got going on this is this one on the bottom right here. There's a picture of the dragon and his tail with an M2 clee track sitting right next to it. Well, Keith also found this picture of the guy standing in front of it getting his picture taken. So we had been thinking about doing some figures in 3D, and Keith says, well, why don't you just do your first figure set as a guy you having his picture taken, and then do the dude holding the camera. And he said, then I can take your Clee track, I'll build one of those, and I'll do a whole diorama scene and recreate the combination of these two photographs. I said, that's great. So that's what he did. So here's the Clee track that you built. Which, by the way, guys, the Clee tracks are going to be available again very, very soon. We'll have a few of them at Nationals, and then they'll be available on the website shortly after. There's that. There's our figure set that we did based on that. And this is fun. I guess you had a fun time going down to the hardware store to do this, didn't you?
Yeah, definitely not my cup of tea generally, but I had to do it for this.
Yeah.
I had the saw, so might as well do it.
Well, I don't know how. This was the crash course in diorama building that I referred to earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it worked out. Check this out.
Wow.
That would be big in 70-second scale.
Oh, it's big.
That base has got to be like the size of the dining room table.
Yeah. My next worry is find a big enough box to wrap this up in.
Well, you'll have to build that too.
Yeah.
And I like your nameplate there. You named it "A Moment with the Dragon."
And I didn't go super detail of how I did the diorama just because, you know, a lot of that stuff can be found like a Night Shift and a lot of those YouTube channels. But for those that are wondering, the concrete is just like the sponge method. So I did like a base gray, then just kept going over with all different acrylic colors for the sponge until it looked like concrete, just over and over and over and over.
Selfless plug. There's a whole chapter on doing just that. Hard stands in the book.
Hmm.
For you folks going to Nationals, I dedicated a whole chapter to it.
Nice. Yeah, so there, and I like how you took this picture, Keith. You stuck the Clee track back behind it to literally recreate that image.
Mhm.
That's very
it's
cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, once I saw that image, I was like, well, I have to take that shot too. So that's why I was up to 1:30 last night getting that shot.
Very nice.
Then that looked like the angle to me where, you know, the photographer would have been for
Right.
that famous photo.
Yep. There you have it.
Wow.
So this,
Very cool.
Dave, this is Lashima Island. It's an Okinawa island. They had a whole air base there. Amongst other islands, they launched the B-29s, the B-24s, a bunch of things from the islands over there whenever they were towards the end of the war.
Yep. The hard stands were done in concrete.
Mm-hmm. And strangely enough, whenever you're looking at a lot of these Pacific islands, you're thinking, you know, palm trees, sand, but once you get into the reference images and even modern pictures, like they don't look like that. They just look like normal trees that you'd see like in the US and normal mud. There's not really that much sand. It's pretty surprising whenever you start looking into it.
Well, Keith, again, we appreciate you doing this. And again, please follow Keith on Green KreationZ with a K and a Z, on his Facebook, on his Instagram, and also his YouTube. He does all sorts of cool stuff. Most of your builds are modern